Hey guys, and welcome to another build video. Now, a while back I did a video on how to do a crafting station. It seems to have done pretty well. It's actually rated as my highest viewed video, and at the current time of recording I believe it's at about 8.1k views, which is pretty crazy considering the lack of subscribers that I have right now. It seems I did so well and brought a lot of new people to the channel. I thought I'd go ahead and do another one. Now this is going to be a mid-tier crafting station. What I mean by mid-tier is it's going to be like just before you get to tech. So it'll be built in the most simple way possible with all the best things you can have without having access to tech just yet. Now this would be to suit a medium to large size tribe, and you can pretty much do anything that you need on this crafting station. It has plenty of room and plenty of storage and drop boxes, so you're able to move things around really quickly and get through whatever task that's at hand. Now if this crafting video does pretty well, or people would just like to see it by letting me know in the comments, then I'd be quite happy to design up a crafting station that involves tech. So if you would like to see that, then let me know in the comments, and if it piques enough interest then I'll definitely make a video. Now that that's out of the way, let's rip into the video. And for your convenience, I'm going to put up on the screen now what you'll need for this build. So if you're already at the part where you're planning on building this, just go ahead and pause the video here and maybe take note of what you'll need. Okay, now to get this build started, you're going to want to make yourself a little 8x8 foundation placement, but you're going to want to leave a 2x2 foundation space empty, which you'll want to be centered, but one space from the back. Now this build does fit on an 8x7, but I made it into an 8x8 because it was off-centered and it was giving me the shits. So if you want to do it on an 8x7, that's entirely up to you, but for the sake of it being pleasing to the eye, I've decided to go with an 8x8. And basically when you're done, it should look like this. Now this step's really simple. You're going to want to take that large hatch frame and place it over the empty 2x2 that we left in the middle. Take care when you're placing it, probably use orbit cam because it can place a little off, like it'll hug one side more and there'll be a gap around the outside of the frame. And we're all about things looking nice here, so we don't want that. And now once you've put this down, you're going to want to put the door in it and open it up. You're going to want to come down and you're going to place your ramps either side. Use the highest snap point you can possibly get because that'll make walking in and out a lot easier. And if you haven't guessed it already, it looks much nicer. And now what this little space down here is actually going to be for is you can just go ahead and drag your body bags down here, or maybe leave the crafting character logged off down here. Hell, if one of your noobs is giving you the shit, you might just want to knock them out and admin lock them in there. Okay, now for this part, you're going to want to take 6 of your 7 pillars that you should have, and you're going to want to place them in this order, exactly 1 foundation apart. Now I know someone's going to chuck a pink fit about the industrial forges being up on 1 pillar each, because it makes it super easy for griefers to just blow your entire crafting station. But my counter argument for that is, if they can get to this crafting station where I'd have it sitting within my base, then them blowing up my 6 industrial forges would be the least of my worries. And I find having the extra pillars there kind of gets in the way a lot when you're trying to move stuff around. So if you want to go ahead and add some to the build, that's completely up to you, but I wouldn't. But anyway, once you're done placing the 6 pillars, you want to go around and put a ceiling on top of each one. And just to make sure we're on the same page, it should look something like this. Okay, now onto the industrial forges. Now when you go to place these, make sure you do it in orbit cam, because a lot of the time if you place it in first person, I haven't tried third, but in first person it'll place it somewhat down the pillar, and it'll make it so you have to crouch to get under it every time, and it's just not a good time. So do it in orbit cam, it comes out clean every single time, and make sure you place the first ones that are going to be closest to the front, hanging off as much towards the front as you possibly can without it placing on the ground. And for every single one you're going to want it hanging off the front a little bit, just so you can look up straight away and get all the metal out. You'll see why later. And the reason we're placing it so far hanging off towards the front of the crafting station is because when we put the other forges up, they're not going to be all crammed together. So when you go to access one of the fabricators and move some metal, you won't accidentally access the wrong forge. Okay, now what we're going to be doing here is we're going to take 4 foundations and place them along the back, centered as possible. And you're going to want to go ahead and chuck your railings up now, because if you place down the other stuff, you might not be able to place it. You know, Ark's building mechanics can be pretty weird sometimes. You don't have to go around and do the whole thing, just do along the back here, because that's the part we'll be working with for now. And then once you've done that, come around the back and place a pillar just here. And now this pillar will be slightly higher than the other one, and it'll allow you to place it slightly higher. And now you're going to want to take your generator out, place it in the center of the 4 foundations that we went and placed. Take your 1 cable out, place that down now. Of course, put your power outlet on it, and go ahead and chuck 3 chem benches either side. And now that we've placed down the wiring already, it'll be nice and tucked away, and it'll look very nice. Now you want to go ahead and put your ceilings across here. It'll allow you to go all the way across, but you want to stop 1 foundation before the end, because it's going to be completely unnecessary. Now you're going to want to put your vaults up on top. Try to put them as close together as possible and leave them slightly hanging over the edge. Now the reason we leave them slightly hanging over the edge is because if you don't, you're going to have a really hard time when you look up trying to access them, especially if you're really close to the chem benches. So for the sake of convenience, I think it's just easier to leave them hanging over the edge slightly, and if you get them lined up right, it looks pretty tidy. And then once you've done placing them, you should have something that looks like this. Okay, so now you can go around and place the rest of your railings. You're going to want to take them right to the front, but don't bring them around the front, otherwise it'll obstruct some things we place later. And then you can go ahead and place your fabricators. You're going to want to put your first one in between the forge at the back and the second forge, and you're going to want to do the same with the second, but in between the second forge and the third. And at this point I'm pretty sure you can guess where the third one goes. And now if you've applied what I said to both sides, then it should look like this. And then you're going to want to take your smithies out and place them underneath each forge, in between the fabricators. So that way if you're building structures or something, you can just look straight up and transfer the metal straight into the smithy with no hassle. And of course you're going to want to do this with both sides. Okay, now you want to come to the front and place 3 foundations in a little L shape, just like that, and you want to do it to both sides. Once you have that done, you're going to want to bring your grinder out and place it just like this and try to keep it out of the way as much as possible, because in the middle we're going to place some ramps very soon. You can take your ramps out and place them down in this order now, and what this is for is just to make it a little bit more easier to move around, because there's nothing worse than when you're crafting or you're overweight and you can't quite reach that thing you're trying to get to. And once you've done that, you're going to take your bolts out and place them on this little bit sticking out either side. And what this is for is so if you're grinding up stone into flint and you're trying to move as much through as quickly as possible, then you've got somewhere to chuck it until one of your tribe mates can move it for you, or until you're able to move it for yourself. And now here we are. You've built yourself one hell of a crafting station. And this crafting station should just about get you through anything that you need it to. Now if you did like the build or you just enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you've got any build you'd like to see me attempt, then drop it down in the comments section, and you never know, I might give it a go. If you like these style of videos, or you'd like to keep up with some of the series I might be doing in the future, then drop a subscribe as well. And until the next video, I shall see you later, guys.
Yeah. Let's go! I'm unstoppable, do the impossible. I'm irresponsible, yet I'm phenomenal. I got an arsenal, I'm dropping bombs, you know. No, I'm not stopping, no. Conquer the obstacle. To the top, here I go, think I'm chosen to be the king of rock, think the people have spoken. I can hear the tick-tock of the clock, I'm in motion. So now I'm gonna